Do not take the death of Jesus on the cross for granted. It costed God something. It costed God his own son. It costed Jesus his own blood. He went through all that for me and you. And you cannot afford to take it for granted. It is no joke. Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Faith Akoye and I'm so excited to have you here. Imagine you having to give sacrifices for every mistake you make. Imagine you having to give burnt offerings for every miscalculation, for every sin that you make in a day. Imagine you having to give burnt offerings to God for every conscious and unconscious sin that you make. How do you think your life would have been? Do you think you would have been able to survive? There is this popular saying in Yoruba that Tabanika Samieshe, Talole Duro, if we are to give a mark on our body for every sin committed, who would have been able to stand? I mean, I would have had marks all over me because part time we make mistake, part time we sin. Before you judge the children of Israel, before you judge how stubborn they were, before you sit down and be like, these children, these people that God had, promised, these children of promise, why are they so stubborn and adamant? Why do they keep going back to their sin? Why do they keep asking for forgiveness yesterday and going back to their sin? Before you judge them, before you listen and judge them, look at your life. Reading the book of Leviticus, I know many of us have not or would not even want to go there because it feels as though what was happening there you cannot relate with it. It's not what is happening now. But reading the book of Leviticus opened my eyes to see the level of grace that I am enjoying. It opened my eyes to see the effect, the power, the strength of what Jesus did on the cross. It opened my eyes to see the deliverance, the access, the freedom, the mercy, the peace, and the grace that I am enjoying, which Jesus did on the cross. There's this popular saying, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. If you do not know the effect and the purpose of what Jesus did on the cross, you will abuse it. And I see that many of us have been abusing the power. Many of us have been abusing that which Jesus did on the cross. Many of us have been abusing the blood that Jesus shed on the cross. I mean, reading the book of Leviticus, opened my eyes to see and just showed how limited and how this whole world would have been if we had to give sacrifices and burnt offerings for every sin that we commit, whether you do it consciously or unconsciously. How would you have been able to give peace offering? How would you have been able to continually give grain offering? How would you have been able to continually give sin offering? How would you have been able to continually give guilt offering? I mean, how would you have been able to continually give burnt offering for your sin? Where would you have seen him? Even if you are the richest man on earth, you would not have been able to keep up. But Jesus came and gave us everything free of charge. If you think it did not cost God something, I want to burst your bubble today. It cost God his only begotten son to come down, to wipe away this trouble, to wipe away this work of man that we wouldn't have been able to sustain. Jesus came to do that for you. Jesus came to give us access to the Father. The children of Israel never had access to God. It had to be that Moses had to report whatever God says to them. The children of Israel never had the kind of closure that we enjoy today, the kind of access that we have to God today. They never enjoyed it. They had to live all their life by laws. It has to be that don't do. If you do, you die. If you don't do, you die. If you do this, they had to be walking with the consciousness of what they would have to pay for whatever sin they will commit. But Jesus came to give us freedom. God sent his only begotten son, and the only thing you had to do, the only price you have to pay is for you to believe. Whoever believes in him will not perish, but have everlasting life. But here we are in the dispensation of grace, and we feel that we can live our life anyhow. And we feel that you can downplay the death of Jesus on the cross. We feel that we can just throw that in the garbage, that yes, he died for me and that is it. No, the sacrifice that Jesus paid on the cross is supposed to be in our conscious and subconscious mind, reminding us that I cannot afford to just downplay the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross for me. It is not a joke. The death of Jesus on the cross is no joke. And we are not supposed to handle it as if it was just easy for him. If we were to be living in the days of the Israelites, we wouldn't have been able to sustain the requirement for sin. We wouldn't have been able to sustain, to live, because you would just want to die. You would just want to die because one single mistake like this, you're on your way out. But here we are enjoying grace. Please do not take the grace of God for granted. Do not take the death of Jesus on the cross for granted. It costed God something. It costed God his own son. It costed Jesus his own blood. He went through all that for me and you. And you cannot afford to take it for granted. It is no joke. I want to encourage you to continue to live in the consciousness of what Jesus did for you on the cross. And not just live your life anyhow. Live with that consciousness that it costed God something for me to live in this freedom that I'm enjoying. It's okay if you have sinned, but don't continue in your sin. Don't continue. The Bible says you cannot continue in sin and expect the grace of God to abound. Don't take the grace of God for granted. Don't live your life like it does not matter. Don't live your life like as though it didn't cost God something. Because we are in the dispensation of grace does not mean that we live our life carelessly. Yes, we are saved by grace, but it costed God something. And I just want to encourage us to live our life with the consciousness of the death of Jesus on the cross. This freedom, this peace, this grace, this message that we are enjoying costed God something. So don't downplay it. Don't take it for granted. God bless you.